The global economy is absolutely on fire. The U.S. economy is ablaze. Welcome back to the channel. I am Mick Alfanine. This is from biz.crash.net. It says a top strategist has warned that a recession is likely in 2024 as companies face a big shock of refinancing loans at higher interest rates. You don't say. How is it a recession if M2 money? Let me make this clear. By the historical data, by the historical charts, M2 money has never been where it is, like it is now, except in all of the prior depressions. So if M2 money is at depression levels, we're in a depression. And if people are making, let's say, $100,000 now, and $100,000 now is equivalent to, let's say, $80,000 in the year 2000, and what I'm hearing is actually $100,000 now, you would have to actually be making about $180,000, $160,000 just to keep up with rising prices. Then how is it not have been a recession when it was a technical recession? Last year it was declared. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, we're in a depression. We're in a light depression. This is why you see a lot of the smart money going into commodities and such to protect their value, right? I mean, so it's just very deceptive in my humble opinion. You let me know how you feel about this. You can disagree. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel that I am. We're in a depression. This is not a recession. It's a light version of a depression. It could turn into a heavy depression. All right. The people out there, and then I looked at the Statista charts. You can go to statista.com and check the charts. More people now than ever working part-time jobs. It was in 2021. There was at 24 million people. And this, I don't know to trust their data, but this is the data they have. And then this year it peaked at 27 million people working part-time jobs. So you mean to tell me, and that's not to include the people who are working jobs for the first time, a second job for the first time, right? And then how many people out there are working jobs for the first time? They used to be stay-at-home parents or something like that. You know, maybe grandma was at home as well, something, who knows? And they have to go out there and get jobs. Affordability is insane right now for a lot of the common people. This is depression, right? You go to TikTok and all I'm seeing are videos. You know, I follow a lot of the global economic and financial news. You see a lot of the regular people speaking as well, right? And they're saying how they can barely afford groceries. They're going to grocery stores and they're spending lots of capital, but they're only able to get a little bit of stuff. That's depression type stuff, in my humble opinion. But let's read this article here. It says Fidelity International Salman Ahmed is sticking to his call for a recession. I'll say depression. It says, while Wall Street veterans say the Federal Reserve has steered the U.S. economy towards a softer position, you see this type of delusion? They're completely deluded. Completely deluded. This makes no sense. If all of these people around the United States are claiming that they're suffering, you have this movement called van life, which also includes cars, by the way. Massive amount of people are moving out of apartments because they say they just can't afford apartments anymore. They're living in their vans. Look all of this up that I'm talking about. You don't have to take my word for it. Look it all up. They're living in their vans. More people now than ever are living together, whereas in the past, let's say, families will have their children leave the homes and go out there, get their own apartment, you know, go to college and graduate college if they've been successful. Maybe buy a house. I don't know, you know, but the children used to get out there on their own, right? Now, more children at later ages are living home with their parents just to survive. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm reading. This is what I'm reading. OK, I mean, how is that a softer position? It's just, you know, the manipulation of data and the delusion of the government and government officials and Fed, you know. Federal Reserve as its own entity, of course, but and their faith that people will believe anything that they say. And you know, the sad part, people do. They do. I've seen it. It's unbelievable to me. And I say, wow, this is going to be very bad when that particular reality of the economy comes crashing down on your head. And then they have the banks are just in shambles. They don't know what to do. And then what do the regulators say? Well, we're going to regulate banks a little bit more. This is why so many people, once again, they're protecting their value in any way that they can. Some people are pulling cash out, right? Look that up. So this is why you have all of this deposit flight going on, even from JP Morgan, right? You have massive deposit flight. What does that mean? Deposit flight means they're pulling money out of the banks, right? They're going in. Some people are storing their money into fine art. Some people storing their money into gold, silver, different things, right? But things that can maintain their value as the dollar plummets in value. Of course, you have that, a lot of dollar dumping going on around the world. It's absolute madness. But here it says, quote, the end point of the cycle is the slowdown because the transmission channel will start, unquote. He said in an interview, quote, if the Fed doesn't back down at some point, everybody is going to have to pay these higher real rates. You don't say, unquote. Says Ahmed, who contributed to wealth creation, said corporates were left with many loans maturing in a new era of higher rates after years of easy money, with a slowing effect of central bank tightening ultimately pushing the economy over the edge. It says, will give allocation strategy for Fidelity's $47 billion in multi-asset business. Higher debt service costs reduce the cost of firepower companies to invest in and pay workers. Other things being equal, rich stock valuations and tight credit spreads indicate that the market is yet to fully factor in the coming recession. Quote, borrowers are not feeling the pressure of interest rates as they are sitting on locked rates, which is not a permanent phenomenon. Good point, unquote, he added. Says, quote, I just inserted that good point because it was a good point. Says, quote, a company that used to finance itself at 2, 3, 4% is now going to finance itself at 10, 11, 12%. It's a huge shock. There's so many shock waves coming in the future. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable that they can say that there's a soft landing. Everything's going well. Everything's going good. Unbelievable. And by the way, more people are going to lose their jobs. That's a fact. And they made that very clear from the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell actually said, hey, more people are going to have to, more jobs will have to be lost. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but you can read the documents for yourself. I'm sure that you did. It says Fidelity International has changed its load on cash to overweight after remaining neutral for the past 2 months to prepare for hitting the refinancing wall in early 2024. Listen, I'll tell you what people are going to need to do. This is not advice, but what people are going to need to do is just spend more wisely. I'm telling you right now. If what they say is true and savings accounts are at all-time low, cash is rapidly losing value as prices steadily increase. At least this is what I've been reading and what I've been hearing. So the people sitting on cash are definitely going to feel it, but reeling back and controlling unnecessary spending, that is something people are going to need to do to have a little bit more cash to play with for necessities, I would think, because this is about to be a rough time. Listen, and the scary part is the fullness of all of these effects, including there's a massive liquidity drain that has been being felt little by little. But if it's ever felt all at one time, if a big swath of that, like for instance, they issue all of these trillions in T-bills and such like that. I'm going to continue to talk about that, by the way, because that's still something that's reverberating out there, and we haven't felt all of the ripples, so to speak. But if that's ever felt all at once, and they're going to continue to take certain activities, there's no debt limit anymore. You know that, right? They removed the debt limit when they had that whole problem. So they're going to continue to spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. It's unbelievable. So then what does that do? What does that do to the economy to have the debt skyrocketing at a pace that, I've never seen this pace before. It says here, this is CBSnews.com. It's titled Labor Day 2023 Workers Minimum Wage Inequality. Let's start here at this paragraph. It says, wage growth has been particularly strong for low-paid workers since March 2020. Is that so? Well, listen, everything in its proper perspective, because even though, you see like McDonald's, because they're having a hard time, as an example, they're trying to raise their wages, like $18, $20, I don't know, something like it's much higher than where it was, because they're having a problem getting workers in. But then you have to ask yourself, well, how much do people need average to survive, to live comfortably? That has gone way up as far as what I'm reading, as far as the data, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. It says, because of government stimulus, such as expanded unemployment benefits, low-paid workers had a stronger safety net. We know all of this, and that has all been drained as far as the charts have shown. It's very strange. How can the Fed say, in one breath, the Fed says, well, there's still some of that redacted era money to extract from the economy, And yet M2 money is at an all-time low, which measures what? Measures all the money in savings accounts, checking accounts, and a few other areas, I believe. Look that up for yourself. No, something doesn't add up here. And I'm going to tell you what's being shown out there in the world is that the historical charts for M2 money is actually what's correct, because it doesn't look like these people have a lot of money to play with. And then also the articles that have shown that people are living off of credit. A lot of these people living off credit, maxing out credit cards. They've been talking about that for almost a year and a half. People are maxing out their credit cards. So listen, I don't think that they would max out their credit cards if they had anything in savings and checking. And I'll say this also, I'm going to throw a little bit in there also. I watch these TikTok videos where they go up to people and ask them how much they have in their account. And I don't know if it's real. It might be not. It might be fake. Might be fake, but it lines up with what M2 is saying. A lot of people don't seem to have a lot in their accounts at all, according to these videos. So there's that. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? Subscribe to the channel. Let's build this channel up. We'll have some fun, global economic conversations here. We definitely will focus a lot on the U.S. economy. We're going to have some fun over here talking about these things and sifting through all of this different information. So until next time, let's get to the money.